3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Ash on Comics. I'm Ash. This is a comic. In case you can't recognize it, it is Avengers, Empyre, Marvel is a 0. It's a 0 issue. Right there. In case you can't see the big 0. What the point of a 0? I'll tell you what the point of a 0 issue is, or at least what it used to be. You'd start off, you'd do something, you'd have a number 1, you'd launch your series, blah, 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 and it's hot and things like that. But there was some story that you wanted to include to give the series or the title some more background. And linearly, is that the right word? In a linear sense, the story happens chronologically before the first issue. So you create this 0. You go, I'm going to create this issue 0 to create this foundation to help give the series more substance. And when they first came out, they were a bit of a gimmick, right? Because you'd already had your number 1 issue. This is back in the day when they hadn't thought of the crazy idea of, let's just make more number 1s. Silly as it sounds now, like that was kind of a taboo thing. You didn't just relaunch the series for a new number 1. You just kept going. So a 0 was kind of a way to be like, well, if number 1 is the hot issue, think of the issue that's before number 1, 0. And sometimes 0 issues also were done as a promo thing. Like you'd launch your series 1 through da-da-da, and then you'd offer a special book to be like, hey, like Valiant used to do this whole thing, like mail in these vouchers for all these books and you'll get the special 0 issue. And so they weren't like a normal book, but they were meant to be kind of a collector chase item, and they were kind of gimmicky. That was what they were before. Nowadays, apparently, you just launch your series at 0. This should be Avengers Empyre number 1. Or just Empyre number 1. I don't know what this is. This is just a joke, but let's get going. So this is written by Al Ewing, who was big hot shot from Mortal Hulk. Everyone thought, oh my god, Al Ewing is this great writer, Mortal Hulk. And then, has he written anything else that anyone cares about? Pepe Larraz, not the cover artist here, but the interior artist. And Marte Gracia, you will probably remember from House of X. He has become one of my favorite modern artists. I really love the combination of these two. Do some gorgeous art. And this book does have gorgeous art. This cover artist, I believe, is Chung. Yeah, Jim Chung. And he used to do DC stuff. Somehow now he's over at Marvel just doing covers, being wasted. Like, it's a nice cover. But I would have been happy with a Pepe Larraz cover. I didn't need Jim Chung being paid extra money, to draw covers. It sucks to see the industry being what it is and wasting these good artists. Like I said, Pepe Larraz is more than capable. So we get Avengers Empyre. And there came a day unlike any other, when Earth's mightiest heroes found themselves united against a common threat. On that day, the Avengers were born to fight the foes no single superhero could withstand. And that's a telling statement here about the Avengers and what this book kind of communicated to me. Now, I have not followed the modern Avengers because I don't really like Jason Aaron's writing, and I don't really like the way the modern Avengers have gone. And what I've seen, I'm just like, oh, this is cringe. I don't like it. I'm only reading this because it's the big event of the year for Marvel. It's going to change everything. So we get this flashback scene, and we get Kree. Apparently, Kree are just pure human looking, or they're blue, depending on... I always thought, man, maybe my memory is getting foggy or what, or maybe things have changed in the 21st century of comics, but I always thought Kree were blue. But here we get the human-looking Kree along with the blue Kree, That's a very diverse Kree race. We go back a billion years, blah blah blah. The Skrulls or the Masters, and they had these two races, the Kree and the Cotati. The Cotati are these plant people, and they put them on the moon for whatever reason, Earth's moon, a billion years ago, to fight over, to have a competition to see who would get the favor of the Skrulls. So Tony's having some dream. He's sleeping inside, I believe it's a celestial, or is that an eternal? I can't keep up with whatever. And he makes some kind of funny joke about, let's see, or maybe it's the natural consequence of spending the night inside a literal space god. Typical Tony Stark. We were gifted with the corpse of something ancient when the universe was young, and I fitted it with a hot tub and $10,000 silk sheets. This is Tony's inner monologue. It's writing like this that makes me go, F you, dude. This is not a hero. Like, F you. Like, it's just so, like, typical of just entitled, detached, out of touch elitism. And Tony Stark has been sort of the poster boy of total elitism. Oh, except for this woman right here. And it's no wonder that they don't get along, because they're both really after the same thing. And we get a little shot of the Avengers, in their space thing. I don't think this is a Quinjet, but they're off to the moon because Carol has called them together. I don't know who's in charge anymore. It's very confusing because we've got Captain America, we've got Captain Marvel, and then they call Captain Marvel Captain. So are they calling? Who are you speaking to? Steve Rogers or Carol Danvers, Captain? But Captain Marvel's not actually a captain; she's a colonel, so they'll refer to her as Colonel Danvers. Can we just call her Colonel Marvel? It's really dumb. She is so ham-fisted, like shoehorned into the Avengers. It's just like pound the triangle through the square hole. Not now, dog. Jeez. It's really annoying. So they come to the moon. They find, oh, look, there's plants growing on the moon. So shocker. It's like we haven't heard of the X-Men or anything. But this is not the X-Men. This is the blue area of the moon where a billion years the Great Conflict happened. And we come to find out in the Great Conflict that it wasn't the Kree that won. It was the Cotati that won. Even though the Kree ended up murdering all the Cotati, I guess. So you saw in this flashback. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We get more crap dialogue that just makes me cringe. First of all, more posing. Pose for the camera. Look at how awesome we are. This is one of the things that makes me not like Marvel Comics, why I stepped away. And I just can't read Marvel Comics, because it's the self-aggrandizement of, look at us, we're badasses. It's not about being heroes. It's about being elites that are in charge of the world. It's about, we're better than common people, and it's up to us to run things, because the regular people, like you and I reading this comic, we're too stupid to make things happen. We need people like this to take care of us. And this is literally how the progressive mindset thinks. And it's no wonder that they write this way. They view themselves like these characters. Obviously, they don't have superpowers, but we get some really just terrible dialogue here from Iron Man. And this is his inner monologue again. We find a clearing large enough for the Quinjet, and I guide us in. Landing a big metal spaceship here feels almost sacrilegious. I feel sacrilegious. I have to hold back the urge to strip off my armor and run naked through the trees. What? Does that sound like Tony Stark to you? Then Cap says, it's so silent. And then we get She-Hulk. What Cap mean? I fought in Jungle's Hulk. He's got to call her Hulk now. This is so stupid. It's not the Hulk. The Avengers have fought with the actual Hulk for years. Bruce Banner is their I almost said comrade. Is their friend. Like, Jennifer Is it Jennifer Walter? No. Yeah, Jennifer Walter. She's not the Hulk. Quit calling her the freaking Hulk. But unfortunately, Cap's not speaking in his own voice. He has to speak with whatever the writers tell him to say. So he has to call her the Hulk. I fought in the jungles, Hulk. There are sounds that you listen for and sounds that you tune out. Buzz of insects, the calls of birds. I'm not hearing any of that. There's no life here. No animal life, anyway. It jungle on moon. What Cap expect? So the dumbest person in the room is the smartest person in the room. And it makes me like want to pop a blood vessel in my head when I hear in my head the dialogue that I'm reading of this Hulk. This is so stupid. Why did they make her this way? Then this giant monstrous thing comes through the forest, crash, and it looks all pretty. Like Pepe draws it beautifully, and it's like, oh, it's got a Kree body and a what is it? Something. What does it say? It looks like Kree technology, Captain. It's a Kree sentry, all right, or at least the body is. The head, I have no idea. So they're like, oh, what's going on? And then Ghost Rider's just shocked. He's like, I didn't even see it move. And Thor's, standing like, whatever, I take this. And the thing just blasts Thor. Now, keep in mind, the current Thor fucking makes Galactus bend the knee, right? The current Thor is uber. But apparently this thing can just pulverize him. But that's what the script needs. And then, of course, Captain Marvel is always the best. She's going to stop things by absorbing all its energy. And we don't really get cool fights or anything. We just get action poses. It's more action poses. Thor's can't stand up. He's always unworthy. Captain Marvel, of course, is the best of the best. She never fails. And then it uses a sonic attack. And they're like, oh, no. And they're like, it's hitting all of us. And then we get this thing. At first, I thought it was Black Panther. He was like, oh, that's cool. Black Panther is the smart one. He was like hiding in stealth and stuff. Because really, why the fuck would Black Panther be doing missions like this? Like, he's way out of his league. But that's the Avengers. It's just like, throw these characters that are popular together. So it's not, though. It's the swordsman. And it's like, not as long as one hero stands. And again, it's just a big pose shot. We don't actually get a fight sequence. Just implied action, and immediately moves past it, and he says, attack! And then we get a bunch of headshots, chunk, 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 finally ending in Captain America, you heard the man, and then they all just blast it. Oh, that was easy. All we needed was some guy like the swordsman to say attack. Why do we need Captain America here? We should have just done this at the beginning. So they blast it. And Thor's like, it's been too long, hey, And then he tells everyone that he's not the real swordsman, that swordsman died a long time ago, but he was merged with the Cotati, and now he's this plant dude. Yada, yada, there's this whole destiny thingamabobber. Ghost Rider just is completely useless. He asks some dumb questions. And apparently they talk about, having a kid with Mantis. But then Mantis wanted to go away on her own and run around the stars, so he didn't hold her back, but the child grew. And of course, the child, in true Marvel fashion, the child grew rapid aging. Because in comic books, remember, it's just a snippet in time. Time doesn't really move forward in comics very much. They try to fudge that, and then they run into problems. So they always have to super age people. So, of course, here's the child that they had. Fully grown, because that's what we need to do. We need time to move, but time can't move, so they find ways around it. So this is Sequoia. Don't know why the alien race wouldn't name this thing after an earth tree that's named, I believe, by a Native American tribe. It doesn't make, whatever, but they call her Koi. Whatever. It's not even her. Sorry, it's a guy. I keep looking at her and going, that looks like a woman. But it's a guy. And he says, yes, I am the Messiah, the foretold one, and I will save the universe from all evil. Oh, great. I thought this was about Marvel heroes and stuff, but apparently it's about Tree Guy, and he's going to save the universe. Iron Man keeps having this running monologue, and he's like, I don't believe in destiny. And they're like, well, we need to help. Here it is. Koi tells Thor, it's like, the first step towards Cotati paradise, Thor, eternal universal peace, it will happen. But a push would speed it up. This is the moon, after all, where life-giving water is not naturally found. Thor responds, I understand, my friend. There is atmosphere in this place, so there is weather. The storm is waiting, from one god to another then. From the old to the new. Krakoom! Okay, pause, time out. Atmosphere requires water. Rain requires water. Air, oxygen, hydrogen form together to make H2O. The reason there's clouds in this panel here can only exist if there is water. If you say there is no water on the moon, you cannot create... and I'm just like, this is stupid. So Thor makes a big rainstorm, because apparently in these comic writers that didn't pass high school basic science, you can just create water out of nothing. They don't understand that water doesn't come from nothing. It always exists. It evaporates into a gaseous form, rises up into the sky, where it cools. The cooling creates condensation. The molecules come together, and then they form into a liquid again. And when the liquid becomes too much, it becomes too heavy, gravity pulls it back down till it falls into the ground, hits the land, it gets soaked into the land, goes down to the water table, or in other cases forms lakes and oceans and rivers and things like that. And then where it warms up, and as it warms up, it evaporates, turns into gaseous form, goes up in the sky, recycle, rinse and repeat. Anyways, I spent way too long talking about this, but it just aggravated me. Like, the writing is like, oh, I don't understand anything. I guess Thor is magic. It would have been better if you would have wrote the story like, Thor, can you magically create water? Like, oh, okay. But anyways, so it's all pointless. Like, that does, okay, great, yay, Thor made rain and they grew crops. Exciting is this mighty Marvel. And then we get back to Iron Man. Half an hour later, we're feasting on fruits, grains, pulses, and what I can only describe as space hummus. That feeling hasn't gone away. After that dream I had, seeing these same people slaughtered feels like paradise. Like something worth defending. And so this whole story is not even based on saving the world. It's about saving these plant people that I have no attachment to. I don't care. And it just I don't care. And I don't like these heroes. I like Captain America. Thor's cool, but this doesn't feel like Thor. These Avengers, they don't feel like heroes. And then they talk about, the war's coming, and the Kree and the Skrulls have united under this one leader. So they say it's a foolish boy, easily charmed by talk of unity, easily made to feel special. He calls himself the King of Space, as if there could ever be such a thing. Oh, man. A figurehead. Who does that sound like in a real-world analog? But the true power stands behind the throne, and it seeks only our death. Okay, so the Kree and the Skrulls want to kill the plant people. And we're going to get a gigantic Marvel massive event around this idea. And it's not a terrible comic. I was reading this for the whole purpose of like, oh my god, this is going to be awful and I can't wait to roast it. It's just mediocre. It's so just milquetoast. But there are some wacko things about it, like Carol Danvers. I keep referring to her. It's like it's so unaware. Like everyone realizes that Carol Danvers is a total bitch and not a hero, even like Marvel Comics, but they don't seem to care. You have that look about you. And Tony's inner monologue, that look that says, I know better. I know best. I'm Carol Danvers, and I'm always right. It's a look I see in mirrors, too. But there's a difference. I am right. Clack. And it's just like, oh, great. The two assholes of the Marvel Universe. Why am I reading this book again? I don't know. I just told you why I was reading this particular book, but why would I want to read Avengers? Just a bunch of assholes, and then this real stupid thing they call the Hulk. And so Tony decides he's going to make a speech. Says, could I have the floor? Before that he says, and if some of us need a big speech to fully hear that truth, could I have the floor? Well, that's why this thing has speakers. Cringe. And then here we get big monologue where he tries to make his Return of the King battle speech, Braveheart, whatever, that typical thing. Well, we will stand. They can never take our freedom. Nonsense. Tony Stark is not that guy. He's never been for me. And then it's like, oh yeah, Thor's like, if we're needed, we can't turn away. So, and then again, he has to do the thing. God, this is so terrible. Carol looks back at, all right, Tony, I guess we're all sold. Want to say the words? That's why this thing has speakers, Colonel Danvers. Avengers assemble! I put a little extra bass in it, because I can. It feels right. Just, for fuck's sake. God! I'm so glad Avengers don't exist in real life. Like, he puts a little extra bass in it. Anyway, so here's the coming of the fleet. This book seems like go on and on and on. And my review probably just went on and on and on. And like I said, I really wish it was worse so that I could really just trash on it. But all those things that I just gave examples of were really the worst parts of the book. The thing that this was most guilty of was just being boring and unimportant. And you think like, oh, it's setting up the premise of what this whole event's going to be about. And not everyone read the original Kree Skrull War back in the 70s, including me. So we're going to set up this whole backstory and get people kind of on board with what's going on. It does that a little bit, but again, I don't care. Oh, so some plant people are going to die. They're just imaginary plant people. You didn't give me any emotional cause. So here comes the fleet. Dun, dun, dun. Cue the Star Wars Empyre music. And then it's like, no matter who gets in our way, oh no, the Fantastic Four are going to get in their way. And then, realistically, Franklin Richards just snaps his fingers and everything's fixed. Yeah, Marvel, you forgot about that problem, didn't you? To be continued in Empyre #1. Not to be continued in Avengers Empyre #1. So this book, #0, doesn't lead into #1. I don't know. Here's the checklist. Now, 21 comics. When you look at this checklist, you go, oh my God, look at all these books I got to buy. 21 comics have been removed from this, from what I understand. So this is the original checklist because obviously it has April, May, and June. And so, wow, this is such a non-thing. I'm probably going to read a little bit more just to do for the channel and see if it goes terrible. But I don't recommend. Why would you invest in this? Look at how many you're gonna. There's so much better out there. And then don't forget, simultaneously, X of Swords is going to be running. That's all I got to say. This was a long review. I give this a thumbs down. 2 stars. Pepe Larraz's art's beautiful. It's like I said, it's not god awful, but it's not worth your money. If this was free, if you just wanted to go read it just to like catch yourself up, sure. But to tell someone to spend $3.99, $4.99 for it, it's no. Thanks for watching.